everybody. It's Linda G
Hi, everyone.
here with Andre, Pro Astrology. We usually do once a week, especially with the drama that's going on. And today we have a special guest, Mel Doerr. Hi, Mel.
I invited myself.
Oh, well, you don't have to tell people that, but he was getting some hits. But we want to start off with Andre because he's going to tell us a little bit of the astrological aspects.
Yeah, the main thing I wanted to say is that what is happening now, pretty clearly affects Jack Smith, because once the Supreme Court starts to say, well, is there immunity, this and that, and it's looking like the best we can expect probably is that Trump is getting some help here and that they're going to delay the trial, right? But there is that possibility that they may do that hearing thing. I heard a couple of lawyers explain that Chutkan could call for a hearing, in which case, without actually prosecuting him, you're putting the information out there, which is kind of equivalent, right? But
Right.
The main thing is with Jack Smith, you see that because of his sun sign, early in April, it's not a good time to get good news, and he's still in that zone, but it gets better as we move into June, and especially late June, July. Month of July is really good. What that'll be, I don't know yet, but in other words, better times to come, and we have to be patient, basically.
I know. And I don't want you guys to worry about whether there's a conviction or whatever, because Trump is not going to win. I double checked that 3 times today. But what was your hit, Mel?
Well, on the Supreme Court?
On the Supreme Court.
I heard those arguments, well, not all 3 hours of them, and I didn't sleep last night. I was like,
Yeah.
my hit is that Trump wanted to be there, and that's why he's making a spectacle of it, so he could face the justices and then try to intimidate them. But my hit was also that he or his lawyer met with those justices, at least 4 of them, like Thomas, Kavanaugh, Gorsuch, and Alito, before the court even heard this case, and talked to them about it in some way, so that their minds were made up before they even heard the argument. They just did it to make it look like a show, like, oh, we heard the argument. That argument that Trump's lawyer Paul was doing is like, he might as well have been saying the dog chased the cat around the tree. It made no sense, but they're like, oh yeah, we have to think of future presidents. We don't care about the facts of the case. We just want to, hello, that's what they were there to do.
Yeah, they were talking about everything going outside boundaries that had nothing to do with that.
Correct. It was topping the list of my BS meter. That's my BS bill. I kept thinking delay. And I don't, I don't, they're not gonna say total immunity. They might say limited immunity. I don't know how they're gonna do it, but I'm just worried that they'll remand it back down to lower courts. But then when I talked to you this morning, Linda, you said you saw a 5-4 ruling, and that eased my mind a little bit.
I saw Justice Roberts going on the side of Amy and the other 3.
So I think it's going to look a little bit, it'll look like a small win for Donald, a small win.
Oh, he was all thrilled this morning. He said his Supreme Court is working in favor of him.
I rest my case.
And listen, this is the same, Kavanaugh was the same one when they were trying to present to the Supreme Court about fake ballots and all that. Kavanaugh wouldn't even open the paperwork. He sent it back.
Right.
So why all of a sudden are they pro-Trump? I mean, they were limiting themselves from him for quite some time, which I was very happy to see. I'm very happy to see Amy Coney Barrett putting on her think cap, because it's a little bit out to lunch what they're doing. But that Neil Gorsuch, like, we could be determining the future. No, dude, everything you do is going to be reversed.
Right.
I saw those Supreme Court justices writing their own death certificate. So whatever happens from this, they blew it.
Yes, absolutely.
They blew it. Now, I asked about Jack Smith just now. I just wanted to take a quick look, see. Every time I throw on this Supreme Court, I get the demon. It's underhanded, it's evil, and they're not doing the work of the American, they're partisan, big partisan. But it was interesting, he's got the 10 of swords, he's got the tower, he was shocked that it was as terrible as it was. He's very grateful for the justices that came forward and made points, including Amy. Amy works like a justice. But the outcome is the 2 of Cups. So this is going to work out. This is going to work out favorably. Like you said, it might be July. Now, let me tell you guys, I always saw, everybody says, are you sure, Linda? An early trial. I thought this would be done in time for them to have a trial. Maybe what I was getting is they're not having a trial with a jury. Maybe that judge, what's her last name?
Chutkan.
Huh?
Chutkan.
Okay, maybe she does what they're saying, Weinstein and all those people were saying. Maybe she does, she brings Jack Smith in, she has him present all his evidence to see if it's personal, which is
right.
all the evidence we as Americans didn't get to hear. And he's
What-
gonna bring out the whole enchilada, which is just as dramatic as if they said no immunity and it goes to trial.
Well, right. And remember that she can literally say, okay, let's check it out. And she can say, Mike Pence, get on the stand. Hope Hicks, get on the
Yeah.
stand. Mark Meadows, get on the stand. That's a big problem. Because they have to, they can't perjure themselves. So then this will be on the news. And then Trump will be on the campaign trail saying that they're not really saying that, the usual thing. So a lot of this is that, to my mind, you already are seeing it, by the way. I don't know if you've been checking out a really interesting pattern. You can always tell how someone is doing by who's betting on what. I was tracking those betting sites late last year, and Trump was ahead, and now he's not ahead anymore.
All right.
And that's how you know that the sentiment is changing. And I already have seen more than one site where already the way it is now, it's narrowly in Biden's favor because of the Midwestern states. Nevada, and Georgia and Arizona still haven't come back. But Arizona, you know what happened in Arizona? That's a major problem, just like Florida. You start doing things like that, women are going to be deciding this. I'm telling you, this is a women's
Right.
election. Notice, too, that look what happens in the Supreme Court. It's the women that have the common sense.
Oh,
Right.
yes.
The women are saying, what are you talking about? Like, are we going to have like a crime center at the White House? Is that the logic here? It's one of them asked.
Right.
Yeah. So, yeah.
And you know what, you guys, they have to be sitting down and really overseeing their decision. Because let's say they say, oh, presidents have no immunity, period. That's it. Well, then what can Joseph Biden do right now?
Well, of course. No,
He can get rid of the Supreme Court justices he don't like. He can codify the abortion. He can do all this. They know that, so they can't say that. They also have to worry about shipping it back to trial, and this woman just presenting the whole enchilada.
They're
They
trying
know
to,
this could happen.
they're trying to save face. The smartest thing for them to have done would said, we're not going to hear this case. We're going to uphold the decisions of the lower court. But Trump's lawyers, oh, they won't do anything to me. He got to them, at least 4 of them or 5 of them. And that's why they heard this case. I pulled 3 cards for the Supreme Court, at least the men on the court. And look what I got, the magician, right? It looks like we're doing this, but under the table, here's what we've done. And then the struggle, but look, the tower.
Yes. I felt like they were signing their own
They were.
death warrant, but I will tell you, and Andre, maybe you can refresh our memories. I just feel Justice Thomas, what's his name? Thomas, yeah.
Clarence.
It is going down. I saw him going, and it feels like I see Kavanaugh brought before the Senate for crimes. I feel that when the new beginning, we get a new Senate and Congress, Senator Whitehouse is really going to say, okay, now we need to start filing charges. I don't think Thomas will be on it because I feel like he'll be getting out sooner than later.
My light bulb just went on, and there's going to be some court clerks, my psychic light bulb, that will come forward and talk about how a couple of those justices talked to Trump's lawyer or lawyers before they heard this case.
That could be the tower. That information gets out.
Yes, that exactly is what it is. And as a result, my light bulb went on and I wrote 2 justices at some point impeached and removed.
What did you get on, what was your hits on those guys again?
Well, the main one is Thomas. Like the cycle changes next year are not favorable for Thomas or Alito, just on their sun sign. And what I notice with people like this that are constantly violating the principle, it's almost like they have a lack of discipline, because what Thomas has done with his wife, that whole thing, I mean, it's just so sordid. It's awful, to be associated with the insurrection, and he keeps showing up in the cases where he should be recusing. So when you see Saturn switching, it causes problems for people like that because of the way they've been behaving. It's the same with Elon Musk. The 25, 26, 27 period is harder for him because he's kind of lost his discipline. He's doing things that aren't good. And Thomas fits that, and so does Alito. Alito was riding high when they passed the Dobbs thing. But I think even he was not anticipating what it would turn into.
Well, he handed Biden. I knew the minute they did that, I said Biden will win. He woke the sleeping giant, and this is the beginning. This is the beginning. This is why we're winning every single, judge and everything. All kinds of people. Even that Wisconsin judge won in a state that didn't even want to acknowledge that she won because they were so upset.
Yeah, that's exactly it. I mean, if you look at results, because people are always pointing to trends and polls, they give you some idea, but look at all the elections. Every time there's an election, like what in Alabama, didn't someone win in Alabama? They're not supposed to win there. You have to realize that, right? So that tells you, yes, absolutely.
My question is, though, back to the thing about, immunity, but meaning the insurrection trial. I'm not talking about the documents case. I'm talking about the insurrection trial.
Mm-hmm.
I asked my guides if there would still be a trial. Mm-hmm. And the answer came to me, yes. And would he be convicted? And the answer is yes. So that's what I keep picking up. It's just a question of when.
Is this where we ask about? Didn't someone mention that Sterling said that in the appeal phase he was going to leave the country?
Is
that because you can kind of picture that, right? If you can see that, by the way, this is not unusual. People have to realize this. The legal system is really slow. Get used to that. And if you have a lot of dollars, you make it as slow as possible. But the thing is, eventually you have to deal with it. And at some point, what does he do if he's getting convicted? Because he would realize, right, that there's no way out.
Yeah, but never in the history of 44 presidents, 270 some odd years, have we ever had to stand in this crap and say, do you have immunity? It's ridiculous.
Well, okay, but to be fair, this is just total devil's advocate. I'm not saying that this is really a solid argument, but you can, in a sense, say, okay, not a bad idea to differentiate between what's official. So in other words, you should not ever be able to prosecute, even when people said George Bush, he starts wars. That's part of his official work. So right. if you put in a president and he goes to war with all of Europe, then don't put him in next time.
Right. But let's take a sample. President Trump fired Comey because he didn't want to be investigated.
That's official.
Is that non-impeachable?
That non-impeachable, yeah, of course. Or even President Trump sends a drone in to attack something. That's part of his official duty. What is not part of your official duty, you're not supposed to call the Secretary of State and say, give me 11,000 votes. How is that official? That's a scam, right? So then that immediately becomes prosecutable. It's pretty basic. So great, let's decide what that is. Because Alito is all worried. Oh, well, in the future, each time a new administration, they're going to prosecute the previous one. When has that ever happened? I mean, why didn't someone ask, the reason this is happening is because the first time in a quarter of a millennium, we have a total crook, who has decided that the White House is the mafia center and we'll run it like that. That's why, But I guess they don't want to be too inflammatory, which another thing too is, if you think about it in a way, the voters can decide this, and maybe must decide it. Like, we've got to make sure that in November we vote and keep this guy out of there. That's the key thing, you know.
But do you all see him going to trial on this insurrection thing?
Yes, but not right away. I would find it amazingly incredible if that trial happened before the election. But this other thing could happen. This other thing, because one of the things about his astrology is in the middle of the year, it's really bad.
Yeah.
June and July. And I'm kind of wondering why, because I think this trial is going to end before that, right? This trial that we're
Well,
in now.
listen, okay, so take what you're saying, the middle of the year, and we're already in May. Okay.
Yeah.
So let's say Supreme Court comes back 5-4 decision. No, he doesn't get immunity. He's still, according to that judge, she was going to give them what, 88 days or something before we do a trial?
It's more, yeah, at least
It's
it
more
takes it.
likely, because I kept seeing a trial, but it's not necessarily a trial, it's presenting the evidence. So they can still do that thing that you're talking about, which
Exactly.
will upset Trump terribly.
Well, and I mean, think about it. Imagine if the Supreme Court, because they're kind of in delay mode, right? So one of the things they can do here is fart around for another 2 months. They don't have to say anything until the end of June. Then they say, okay, well, we're going to send it back to Chutkan. We want clarification. Well, now she can do that in August, September. That's the worst possible time. That's in the middle of, you know, the most deadly campaigning, you know?
Then what happens with that is the Supreme Court then doesn't meet again until October. So if Trump appeals it, then they can hear the argument it's October and say, oh, we're not going to give our decision on it for another 2 or 3 months.
Yeah, exactly.
So-
Yeah.
And,
Right.
and then that's a win for Trump because he wanted the delay because he wanted it until after the election.
He did. Yeah.
But
it's
at the
true.
end of the day, it's not going to be a win for Trump because I still see him being convicted of being guilty on the insurrection case.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
Those charges.
whether he's there or not there. But what
That's
about this, what about this case that's going on now in Manhattan? Will he be found guilty?
I say yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Me, it's.
And what's going to happen, I think, because the Supreme Court, or at least four of them, pulled their partisan shenanigans. They don't care about the people. They just are up Trump's, you know what. My feeling is the state, like Georgia, they're going to expedite that case. So now he's found guilty in New York. He's found guilty in Georgia. And 2 trials before the election in the states, and the Supreme Court can't say too much about that one, can they? It's, you know, that's going to be worse for Trump than if he went to trial on the insurrection stuff.
Yeah.
That's
yeah,
what's
no.
going on in Arizona. They just indicted some of his cronies
Yes.
the election, and Trump is going to get indicted there too.
Yeah, it's bad.
So
it's
on
pretty
Trump's
bad.
chart, right now, how is he looking? Right now in this moment?
Well, how do you think?
I don't
Is
How do
that
you
know.
think
good?
it's looking? How do you think it's looking? Just look
Well,
around.
I did a reading, a private talk to my people the other day, and I saw something really weird in the cards. I said, oh, he's going to get some good news. And I thought, was it about this trial? No, what it was the good news that he thought the Supreme Court was going to rule in his favor.
Yeah, it's
So
not. I
for a
mean,
minute there, he was all happy. Oh, my Supreme Court is doing my duty.
he gets Pyrrhic victories, you know, things here and there, but he's in a total, you know, long extended period where things go from bad to worse. It's not a good situation. Including, I have to make a video because you know what starts to happen is when the election approaches, and people send me these emails saying, "Oh, these astrologers are saying that election night looks really good," and the person said, "Somewhat credible astrologers, I guess," because when I look, I don't see that. I just don't see
You gotta
it.
go with what you see. And that's
No,
why
yeah,
I
I mean,
gotta say, you have been hitting it. I mean, that's why when you were on Debbie's show, and the way you look at it was so interesting, but everything you've told me since I met you has been coming to pass.
Yeah, and I'm not going to claim infallibility, but I'll just say this:
No, yeah.
if I'm Trump and I have that chart, I'm you know shaking in my boots. This is not the chart of a winner. It's not.
But and
It's
the
a-
good news is Jackie's gonna look better a little later. In July.
Yeah, no, that for sure. Yeah, for sure. Now, he's got bumps later on and good things later on as well. It oscillates, but there are key moments there where the energy changes, and definitely a lot better than what was going on when Cannon started playing those games. And, I mean, he is, to be fair, he's definitely getting assistance from the legal system in delaying. That there's no question.
Right.
It's 100% true. But there's enough there. There's enough
Does
there.
anybody know if he was there at the Supreme Court?
No, he wasn't.
No, he was not. He was in the other trial.
Which one?
Well, the one that he's in
Where?
now. I think he's there today. Isn't he there today? He's
Where?
In New
in
York.
in court in New
He's
York.
at the Manhattan trial?
Yeah. Yeah, no, he has to attend. It's a criminal trial. Yeah.
But it's a state criminal trial. He doesn't have to attend the state.
No. He has to. If it's a criminal trial, you have to attend. If it's a civil trial, then you don't have to attend. But this, he must be there.
Oh, I'd be looking for him, but I don't see him.
No, he's got to sit there. That's why they were making those jokes that he's sitting there, blowing wind and all that stuff, and because he falls asleep and all that stuff.
Oh, wait, I'm talking about Jack Smith.
Oh no, Jack Smith. No.
Oh,
Jack Smith.
I was like,
no.
what? Jack
Sorry, we
Smith?
got.
Was
okay.
Jack Smith at the Supreme Court?
No. Jack Smith has been in the background. The only thing about Jack Smith is we heard the story on when he did those things through paperwork and the thing with with Cannon, because Cannon is clearly trying to help Trump.
And listen, there's nothing Cannon can do because all of this will come out. All this will come out, whether
Jack
Trump's
Smith-
alive or dead.
Jack Smith had a lawyer argue the case.
And he was very timid lawyer, but he was a good lawyer.
Oh, what I read, the guy was brilliant.
Yeah.
But with the Supreme Court decision, I pulled the Three of Swords, which is disappointment. But look, then justice. So there'll be a delay with it, but justice will be done.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sounds great.
Yeah.
So anything else you guys want to chit chat about? Let me just double check. I posted that we were going to be on. I just want to see if
Well, I asked about Trump, and look what I got. This is a
he's sick. You can tell by his face. He's sick.
I mean, don't you remember? Do the two of you remember that incident at Fox when they had the terror reader? I thought that was the funniest thing I've seen in the last number of years. Where
The terror what?
they had a terror reader, a British woman came
Oh, a
on
tarot
Fox,
reader. Yeah.
and then she pulls the card, and I knew immediately.
The Five
Trouble.
of Cups.
And then she starts trying to massage it, and the person on the other end. They cooked up a thing, but it was clearly bad. And then they pulled a card for Biden, and he got I think it was the Nine of Pentacles, something really good. Where I immediately saw it, and I thought, this looks good. So they got the total opposite of what they were expecting. So,
Well,
Thought I'd
I
mention
pulled
that.
these cards, and look, Seven of Cups, illusion, delusion, and confusion that Trump creates. But I ask what's going on in Trump's mind. He's really anxious. He's really afraid. He's not sleeping well. And then I pulled this death card, which just, and then this death card, which means he's got to watch his health.
Right.
But this means change. This means a death of him being able to
Be a big shot.
to be a big shot, and to be a death to the way he's influencing people. He thinks he's going to win, but he's wrong. So
he's
these
not gonna win.
cards, they don't look good.
Did you happen to have Melania's chart?
I don't have her time. And the time really does. It can create some major blocks, and depending on where things fall, like that's one of the things with Smith's. There's a problem in that I can't pin his moon down, and it could be totally okay, or it could be a bit of a problem. That's an example. And same with Melania. There's no,
But I am not feeling that she's happy with him at all.
Ooh.
She's blaming him about this and bringing up this woman and everybody on Twitter or Threads are putting a picture of him with that Playboy gal. What's her name? What's that?
Karen McDougal.
Yeah, him and her standing together saying, "Happy birthday, Melania."
I pulled a card from Melania. Look what I got.
Yeah, she's not
Isn't
happy
that,
with
isn't
this.
that like a kind of a turbulent card? That card is a bit of a
Yeah, it's a
argument.
battle. It's coming out of the battle. She's almost thinking she's going to pack her stuff and move.
But it's also about deception. It's about those around her that.
Oh yeah, right. Swords. I thought I saw.
She's deceptive as well. So, you know, uh,
I mean, let me ask you guys, he has no family or friends in that courtroom with him.
Yeah, right. He doesn't. No.
Why? Because it stinks? I think it stinks, not just physically, but emotionally. I think this is a lot for his family to have to go through.
Well, the part that amazes me the most is that whether it's the justices or anyone, how they don't intuit, they don't grasp, never get near a person like this. He's always going to hurt you, always, right? And
Well,
so
that
many
was his
people around him.
status. Yeah.
Yeah, and yet they're toying with it. It's amazing to me, that they don't think it's going to rebound to them because of the way he is. Every person that he
Years
anything he
ago, when I
touches-
started reading, a guy named Joe from New York, and he's like a Joe from New York. And him and I started our session, and he said, Linda, I'm going to tell you something right now. Anybody and everybody in New York can tell you what a scuzz bucket that guy is. Nobody likes him in New York.
Yeah,
Which is, if you think about it, he's from New York, and you can only get, what, 8,000 votes?
yeah, that's true. It's 100%.
Oh,
true.
yeah. I mean, he ripped people off. He's hurt people. You can't keep doing that and expect to get off, because people will turn against you.
the only reason I think Clarence Thomas is so up Trump's rear end is because those two colluded on a lot together. The other thing is, I think Clarence Thomas is hoping in a way that Trump wins, because if Trump wins, he's going to pardon everybody, including Clarence Thomas's wife.
Yep, yep. And he's gonna let him replace him with somebody that they want. Because
Correct.
trust me, this society that Clarence Thomas belongs to has told them they paid off all Kavanaugh's debts. And they've told them, you do not vote against Trump. They've told them that,
That's the Federalist Society.
the Federalist Society. So let me read this out loud from Patty. I've worked in the legal profession for 30 years and listened to immunity arguments in the Supreme. Then I listened to the immunity arguments in the Supreme Court today. The leading questions and bias from the conservatives was breathtaking. I still haven't recovered from the same behavior in the Idaho abortion case. Is this corrupt court ever going to be stopped, or do I need to renew my passport? I literally cannot live here if this doesn't change. Please
Well-
talk me off the ceiling. So hopefully, Patty, what we've already said is going to help you. But literally, when I was looking at the Supreme Court, this time next year, it's going to be totally changed. They'll probably even do term limits, and they're going to make sure you can't take money from people and live high on the hog. You have to live by certain standards.
You know, that question is exactly why I asked if I could be on the show today, because a lot of people are feeling like this person who asked the question that, they're feeling like they need to be talked off the ledge right now. I mean, last night, myself included. And so it's nice to have the opportunity to do this, to reassure ourselves and to reassure others. Because I told Gary, if this goes south, we're getting out of here.
Yeah.
He's not going to win. I can't begin to tell you.
He's
And
not gonna-
no, they're not going to be able to give him total immunity. They're not going to be able to do that. And listen,
No.
trust me, they're talking about, geez, if we give him immunity now, then that means Biden can go carte blanche.
No, I don't think that'll happen. No, even the people that analyzed it, the top heavy lawyers that are really sharp, it sounded like they were saying it's a ploy to delay, but they're not. It's completely incoherent to give someone total immunity. That makes no sense. But they
even
want to
if-
kind of, muddy up the thing a bit to figure out.
Right.
Well,
if
the
they-
overseer of the Supreme Court even wrote today to Justice Thomas and said, why were you still hearing this case? When
Yes.
your wife was involved with that. And he won't answer them, of course, because he doesn't have to.
No,
He
I
just
know.
ignores. He doesn't care what the people are saying. How dare you? He doesn't
Nope.
have, the one who it affects is Justice Thomas, not Justice, the chief, Roberts.
Roberts. Even if they remand it to a lower court, which I feel they will do, intuitively or psychically, I feel that's still a partial win for Trump. because
Somewhat,
it
yeah.
delays it. But
It
just
does.
because he won this battle doesn't mean he'll win the war.
No, no, no,
And
no,
it's
no.
coming to him.
It's true. It's true. But remember that Remand, uh, there were Wiseman. He's really sharp, and he said,
Wiseman.
careful with that because if you remand it to Chutkin, because Chutkin is the one that is dealing with the case. So once that happens, she has free latitude to examine. And when you examine, you call witnesses in. That's not cool. His whole thing is he doesn't want it on TV. He doesn't want it to be part of the dialogue. Well, of course, if he's convicted, that's even worse. I know. And that would have been ideal. And it's unfortunate that we don't have more honest justices, but you know.
But Andre, when you said he doesn't want it on TV, that's going to bite him in the butt too. Because by remanding it back down to a lower court, which I know they're going to do, it is, and I hope they don't, but it's going to get a lot more negative for coverage for Trump than if he would have just went ahead and gone to trial.
Well, yeah, the whole thing is bad. I mean, the whole thing of what we're, you know, whatever's in the news, this is what his specialty is, by the way. He's constantly trying to angle everything to favor him. And now that's why if the chart says, well, you see, this is why you can't now. Now you're kind of held up. There are other things going on. And so there's a barrage of negative news, right? I mean, every day, we're saying this thing about how they were talking to people in the White House about paying off McDougal, and Sarah Huckabee Sanders and Hope Hicks said, yes, we should do that. Think about how crazy that is. These are people that are public employees with our tax money, basically working fraud behind the scenes, you know? That's what was going on.
Well, look at this Alabama hick that won as governor. My God. She went to Europe with her friends and then try to act like she bought a real expensive, like I like to call it, a latrine.
Oh, you're talking about,
Everybody was laughing about that.
are you talking about Sarah Huckabee Sanders? The
Yeah.
blood turn?
Yeah.
Oh, but by the way, she's under criminal investigation right now. So yeah, no. These
It's
people will
Arkansas.
get their just desserts, but
Isn't it
Andre,
Tennessee? No, Arkansas. Tennessee or Arkansas. One of the two. I think it's
Arkansas.
above. Yeah.
all in all, by the looks of Trump's chart, and how far ahead did you go, maybe?
Oh, it's like one of the things that's most striking is that it's the territory in 25 that is worse than this territory, because that in 25 and 26, those 2 years, there's a lot of pressure in that part of the chart that he really hates, where that Access Hollywood bus thing happened.
Yeah.
You know, where really it just explodes in his face. So, you know, just because it hasn't happened yet, it's going there, right? So there's no respite. And I still keep saying, this is if he gets there. There is a real problem with his health, you know.
Right.
There's a real problem, which at minimum, whenever I experience that particular aspect, it's either injury or just this sense that energy is low, that something is out of whack. It doesn't feel good at all, right? So to tell me that you're under these types of aspects and you're going into an election moment and you're trying to convince me, oh, it's really great. You know, we know what they're focused on is the Jupiter, right? Jupiter is in his sign, right? It turns out that Trump and Jack Smith are both Gemini, right? But Jack Smith is earlier, right? So, but Trump, near the election, the Jupiter does get close to where his sun is, but where it lands is in October, directly opposite the moon. Jupiter, when it's opposite, doesn't help you, right? It's not a helpful
Yeah,
planet.
yeah. Oh, I've had that happen
No.
to me.
Yeah, so then one of the things is he'll overreach, because that's Jupiter when it gets deranged, and he's totally deranged, so he does that every time. He's going to overreach and exaggerate, which he does anyway, but it's not helpful to win. That's not where you want it. It doesn't make sense to say that, oh, he's got Jupiter, therefore he's going to win. No, not true. So then this takes care of most of the astrologers that say, oh, well, around election time, it's looking really great. No, because that's the one, in quotes, positive. The negatives are numerous. I can count about maybe 6 or 7. Oh, I'll be putting that in videos, you know, so that people can see one of them one at a time, basically, to see what the problem is.
That's why I belong to your membership, so I can see these charts.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
What's going on with Trump's Saturn?
It's Trump's Saturn. Okay, so it's more the transiting Saturn. So the Saturn at birth in his chart is of course, where would you find it? It's in the prison house. It's a place where you commit crimes. Like that house, he's got 3 planets. He could have been, which he didn't, obviously. That's the same house as like monasteries and prisons are there, right? So he could have been a spiritual person. That didn't happen, obviously, right? So he's wired to, as you can see, this guy is looking for a law to break every single day, right? So then that Saturn is building that karma. Now, when it comes around and starts making angles, it threatens to bring it into play, which that's why I had said in 22, I said, wait till the spring of 23, when Saturn locks into that sign, that's when Alvin Bragg, the whole thing started rolling, right? Now it's in the heart. It's in there challenging him directly. So he's got Saturn up the wazoo, you know.
That's where Saturn is,
right,
up in
but the other
wazoo.
problem is that that house is also where you could go get really serious surgery or you could die. It's not a good place for the Saturn to be in. It's very risky. You know, I've seen plenty of charts. Trust me on this, right? So that's why, you know, and you see that and you say, well, you know, okay, maybe he's not going to, you know, kick the bucket, but it's the surgery house. It's not a good place. And you already can see, you know, that, well, didn't you notice, for instance,
Yeah.
yeah, or all the, you know, the dementia. He's definitely losing ground, you know.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Now, have you taken a look-see at Putin at all? With
Yeah, well,
this money coming to the Ukraine?
Well, Putin, I mean,
And we
look
said
at-
that was gonna happen, yay.
right, but look at Putin too, right? Putin, he is, as we speak, this year he's on a Jupiter return. Usually Jupiter returns are helpful, but his Jupiter is not well placed. It's got this problem angle. So then the US steps in and is putting money in. And then these things take a while. You throw the money in. Putin's problem is 25, 26, 27, which fits, by the way, with, do you remember that guy, the French, my namesake, the astrologer that predicted the pandemic?
Yes.
That guy had pinned down big planetary movements to countries, and he noticed Saturn, Neptune, those conjunctions are very connected to Russia. So there was one in 1917, Russian Revolution. There was another one in 1989-90. That was the collapse. There's one coming up in 21, in 25 and 26. Why would you say that this is good for Russia, the way things are going? It kind of tells you in a way, this doesn't look good. And Putin
Things are gonna change.
and Putin has all this Libra in his chart in the 12th sign. So the energy is moving against him. You know, it's going
Yeah.
that way. But again, countries take a while, right? You know, for what a person might be 2 years, could be 10 years for a country or even 20. So I think this is the middle to the second half of the decade. We just have to be patient around how it's
Right.
going to go. Yeah.
Right, well, they're talking about a terrorist action, you know, Christopher Wray put the United States on alert. I picked up something with transportation more on the East Coast, but I don't know if they get through it or they're able to do it because I feel Intel is just wide awake. And the UK is also afraid of this. Do you think he's going to be able to do something like that?
Who, Putin?
Yeah, I'm sure this is Putin or Iran.
I mean, he might, but I mean, this to me, this is just flailing around. All you're doing is making things worse. Like one of the things about the era we're living in, like Russia sometimes reminds me of, you know, they're living in reminds me of the old style, how they used to do politics 100 years ago. Now the information flies around so fast. It's really hard for these authoritarian countries because their own citizens find out, you know, they put a VPN in and they find out what's really going on. It's complicated as hell.
Well, do you
So-
know that big deal that happened in that music concert and all those people died and everything? When the Intel started to investigate it, they realized it was Russia that did that to themselves. Did you notice we stopped hearing about it?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, it's true. Yeah. But it doesn't surprise me, by the way, because that's what they do. They're basically constantly agitating. They don't have the money to fight the U.S. toe to toe. They constantly try to divide the U.S. And
Right.
they've been saying it for a long time. Their leaders in the middle of the last century were saying we have to defeat them from the inside out. You know, that was the
Right,
only.
but also they don't have the money to fight Ukraine now. Oh, you know, Putin is furious. He's furious. He can't believe that they passed it.
We have to remember that Putin is KGB from the old KGB.
Yeah.
And so a lot of the tactics that he's using now is exactly what the KGB did. And, you know, I agree. You know, Leon Trotsky, he was, when the Bolshevik Revolution happened, he had basically said that, you know, he was talking about the United States, And they said, what if the United States is a threat to the Soviet Union? And he said, when they are destroyed, they will destroy themselves from within.
Oh.
And that's what we have to be very careful about. But he was also very, it was prophetic about the Soviet Union, because what he said was true, because look what happened to the Soviet Union. They destroyed themselves from within.
Yeah.
Oh, exactly. Yeah.
So,
So
Trotsky-
last question, I wanted to ask, so I guess President Biden said he'd be happy to debate Trump. Do you think that could possibly happen? I felt a no right away. What do you guys think?
Trump will find some bullshit reason.
Like he
for-
doesn't mind testifying. Oh yeah, put me up there. You know he's not going to testify.
Well, it's going to depend on one thing, though. It's going to depend on how the numbers are looking in the late summer, early fall, because if you're ahead, that's when you don't want to debate, right? But if you're behind, you have to debate. So I'm split on that one. It's possible that by then, very possible, that he's behind and he needs to debate. But I don't know that that's going to help him. I think that would be a problem. We saw last time how he hurt himself debating.
He just started
And-
screaming and yelling.
And Biden is getting better at, I thought he should have done this years ago, and people would say to me, oh no, that's going down to his level. No, Trump, insult him, call him an idiot to his face, because he is. Just say, yeah, I know, we're going to drink some bleach now, I know. You're brilliant. Person, woman, man, camera, TV, I know. You got it all figured out. That's what you are,
I'm not seeing a debate between
No.
Biden and Trump. Trump will
I don't know. I keep seeing Trump on his back. I think something's coming up for him. Maybe a slow TIA or something. Like everybody's trying to figure out what's going on, but they're saying, oh, he's resting. That's what I'm getting. They don't want to give any major announcement because they still want to think that he can run for president.
Yeah,
my light bulb went on if he even lives that long,
Yeah, well, we'll see.
yeah.
He hasn't even picked his VP yet.
No, and I have no idea.
Give Kamala somebody to have for breakfast.
Yeah, that's another one. That's another one. Kamala should start to become a major force from mid-year forward. That's one of the major assets to Biden's ticket for sure.
Right.
And the fact that we said this already, but the issue with women's rights is key. It's key here.
Very key. It's the women that will take him down.
The women
Yeah,
will take
yeah. I don't know if you checked. I mean, I keep repeating this. In 2020, Biden won because women voted. If they hadn't voted, Trump would have won. That is the part that is
That's the
most
truth.
disappointing when I think that.
Because
you just
most
think-
men voted for Trump.
Right. I mean, not all men, obviously, but most men. And that's almost as disturbing as how Mel was saying, listening to the Supreme Court yesterday and thinking, can you believe this Alito guy, the way he reasons? Or Gorsuch? Like at one point, Gorsuch apparently asked a question. He said, okay, well, but are you saying that the people below the president also would be immune? And the lawyer said, oh, no. Trump's lawyer, no, they would not be immune. And then Gorsuch said, oh, okay. Okay, so basically you're saying the president can commit all the crimes, but not the people.
But the
underneath.
people, they said they would all face all the punishment.
How is this?
Which actually, when Gorsuch said that, then the January 6th conspirators, if they ever go to the Supreme Court, he just set a legal precedent by saying that, because they're going to say, oh, those people committed crimes, so they can go to jail.
Yeah,
So, that was thin ice when Gorsuch said that.
It's insane though to think that they've been saying the justices are saying the obstruction charge for the January 6th. Oh, that's not really clear. Well, what's not clear about you break into the building, there's a procedure going on, you're obstructing the procedure. What is complicated about that? Come on, like
you
I'm not a
wanted
lawyer,
people to
but
bring their rifles and their AKs into the Capitol. You wanted that.
I can't think of anything more clear. What is complicated about that?
At first, when the politician was saying, oh, they were just vacationers, I'm like, I've never taken
Really?
a.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, that's like vacationing with the Hells Angels on the beach. They move in with their bikes and they're just they're just checking out the beach. Really?
Right.
I heard Trump in the court, the first day of court, he came and he said, they're doing this because my numbers are beating Biden and it's a blah, 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 blah. Trump's numbers are dwindling, and
They're
actually
dwindling. They're going
people
down.
are resigning from the Republican Party and saying they're not going to vote for Trump because of
Or
this.
they're not gonna run again for Congress. Congress is losing a big chunk of people.
And I think there's a lot of Republicans that are also going to be very dissatisfied with the Supreme Court because of
Well,
because
McConnell said, no, you can get him outside of the Senate. You can punish him then. Remember
they're saying
that?
the
You can
opposite.
punish him then. Now they're saying, oh, no, you can't punish. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, but
don't
did
worry,
you
he's
hear
gonna
McConnell though? Did you hear McConnell what he said about Tucker Carlson? That
What'd he
little-
say?
He said the reason that this whole thing happened, the main reason why there was this delay is because of Tucker Carlson, and he said now he's interviewing Putin, which is what he should have been doing from the beginning, you know, because McConnell that way is really against the people that are pro-Russia. He's from the
Yeah.
old style, but he's another corrupt man, because when you look back, what he did there to take away that seat, that's just so corrupt.
Oh,
and
God,
so
Obama
slimy.
should have said, no, I do executive order and I get to put in my own. He
I don't
should
think
have
he can- I
fought
don't think
him.
he- but I don't think he can do that though. That's the problem with our system. That I think.
Oh, and then sits back and then says, no, those laws have changed. We can bring in Amy Comet. And it was she only died like a month before the vote.
Right.
I just thought of something. I'm going to look into. I haven't looked at his chart in a while, because this thing with the case being remanded. One of the things that could happen if you remand the case and Chutkan says, "Okay, we got to interview the witnesses," the other person that would end up on the stand is Bill Barr, and I want to see what's going on with him, because he's also looking like quite a fool now when he said, "I'm going to vote for Trump," after all those things that he said about how dangerous he is.
And
because
even
he
Trump
thinks-
talked trash about him on Truth Social. Like, you got a lot of nerve. The one who wouldn't say that the vote was stolen.
My
right, but
light bulb just went on when you said that, because my guides have shown me a long time ago that Barr would come back into the spotlight. So maybe if Barr comes back into it, and I feel you're right about that, Andre, then a lot's going to come out and it ain't going to look good.
I mean, I know if he start, I hope he doesn't go on the stand. He won't do it, because remember when he was talking to the committee, he was cursing up a storm. And he kept saying, "Hey, we were telling him this is complete bullshit. Why is he saying?"
Yeah.
I just thought of something
The cards,
interesting.
every time I threw the cards on Barr, it was bad. I don't think his health is very good either.
I just thought of something interesting.
But
If, let's say, by some weird stroke of fate, the Supreme Court said president has total immunity, which they're not going to say, but even limited immunity. So a president can be impeached and removed from office after he has in the House, and after he has a hearing in the Senate or trial in the Senate for high crimes and misdemeanors. Well, if a president has total immunity, that's unconstitutional, because you can't impeach him, because he could commit all kinds of crime and he's immune. So really, then there's no legal repercussions. So how could you prosecute somebody or impeach somebody and get them out of office if they're immune from prosecution?
Well,
It makes
because
no sense.
because you could like look with Trump, for example, when so this is the thing. This is where it gets tricky, right? So then he could say, when I phoned Zelensky, that was an official act. Well, yes, it was, but you were also involved in a bribe, essentially. So then
Right.
you have to parse it. You have to parse it, because if you say an official act is just anything he's doing while he's being president, he can do some really awful things, right?
Right.
Like how, one of the women justices yesterday said, "You mean like he can order a coup?" Like, just do it, right? And
yeah,
it's
and poor
official act.
Zelensky, God bless him. He would not say Biden was in on some sort of scam. He wouldn't do it.
No, he wouldn't do it.
But my question is, though, if he has that partial immunity, then let's say for the Zelensky thing, and let's say they tried to impeach him for that. Oh, no, I'm immune because I did it not as something private. I did it as president. So to me, that's unconstitutional, because the Constitution says you can impeach a president for high crimes and misdemeanors. So
Yeah, it's complicated. I mean,
It's
this is
complicated.
this could be
Well,
part
we
of
did
the,
impeach him. We just weren't able they just didn't have enough votes to,
but I'm saying if they're immune, you can't impeach them
yeah,
because
yeah, that's true.
you
So
Don't
have
worry,
to,
all this is gonna change.
you have to define it. I mean, but sometimes people like this, they're like a thief that breaks into your house, and then when you call the alarm company, they can give you a better system because they know where the problems are. And Trump is like that. He's trying to tear down everything. So then you have to create new rules, you know, that
That's
people are
what we're
more
gonna do
clear.
for
Like,
SCOTUS. Yep,
yeah, so that people know this is what you can do and this is what you can't do. Because, for instance, showing your taxes should be mandatory. That's it. You want to run for
absolutely.
office, show your taxes. That's an example of abusing, you know, the expected norms. So, yeah.
I think Trump says purposely things that are so outlandish. In the beginning, people think, "Oh my God, that's so outlandish," and he keeps saying them and saying
I
and
know,
saying the same
I know.
thing over and over until it almost becomes normalized.
Yeah, yeah.
And then if he scores one little point on that, even though the rest of it is totally ridiculous, that's still a win for Trump. So
Right.
this country needs to come to terms with, when are we going to stop normalizing this?
Well, we're learning
abnormal-
something from Trump, as terrible as it is. This too shall pass. He's this cray rapid dog that came in, and we've learned some things, so.
Andre, what does the chart show for the country? I think that's the question I would
Well,
have.
no, that this is the other side of that, which we've said quite a number of times, is that the reason the whole thing is happening in the first place is that the current U.S. chart, there are strong echoes to the Civil War. So the country is very divided, and so you get these two camps, and each camp will only watch their own news. And I think we're pretty sure, we could be wrong, but we're pretty sure our media, the so-called normal media, you know, the media like New York Times, Washington Post, they're not the fake news. The fake news is the National Enquirer and often Fox. I mean, Fox, they go on there and they'll say, they'll actually out witnesses. I mean, really awful stuff that you shouldn't be doing as a news organization. So we're split at the moment, and it is like that right now. So we have to, my feeling is probably at least one more till the midterms, or maybe even till 28. I don't think it'll settle down. Like, my sense of this is that it doesn't matter what happens in November, the right wing of they're not going to be happy. They're not going to be happy, and you know, so. But
Yeah.
such is life. I mean, they weren't happy in the Civil War either, right? In the Civil War, they didn't like the outcome. But what can I tell you? You know, even
Yeah.
though Trump thinks General Lee was really special, he lost. You know, he lost,
Yeah.
and so did you. That's how it works. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, my friend. Thank you, Mel, for guest
Inviting myself.
spotting. Yeah.
No, thank
And
you
you
all for
believe
letting
we
me.
already did an hour, if you can believe it. I don't
Thank,
do
thank you all
hours.
for letting me do this, because
Oh, sure.
I called Linda this morning. I'll go, please call me back. I was like, put me
That
off a
was
little.
fun. That was fun.
I'm like, who's this bitch?
Yeah, right. Crazy ass Mal. What? Thank you for letting me do this.
Thank you.
I just
Thank
want
you,
to.
Andre. You always make me feel better, no
Me
matter what.
too. Me too. I can
Yeah.
put the volume back up. Okay, I don't have to
Yeah,
jump.
we can put the switchblades back up on the shelf. I can unload my gun.
Prozac's getting
Yeah,
locked.
there you go.
Yeah.
So, thank you, my friend.
Andre, thank you.
So I'll talk to you next week, Andre.
All right.
Goodbye, everybody.
Bye, everyone.
Cheers.